Okie dokie team. Let's get this all up and running. This is a bit of a last minute stream, but I did want to talk about price action. What has been happening of late? Okay. Okay. Bring up the charts, then we will share this with everyone else. Okay, we are getting places now. I hope you're all well. Quite the rug pull before, wasn't it? After an absolutely blow off top there, led by the likes of Ethereum. Blow off top there, led. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, awesome, awesome. Smash that like button, please all. And I hope you did enjoy the write-up, particularly on my favourite, ETH, today. We'll have a look at a few of the metrics and we're going to talk about whether or not that was the top or where we can expect to go from here. We already have 350 watching. Hello all. Kyle, Daniel, Sky. And we've got 83 out of 360 that were kind enough to push that like button, thumbs up. Questions are already streaming in. ETH BTC ratio. Very interesting. One that I analyze a lot. And we had a huge tick up yesterday. Let's get rid of all the drawings. Big jump yesterday. So things are starting to look, well, I think I tweeted the other day, didn't I, about the relationship and how it was very much looking like we're going to get this period where alts could make a bit of a comeback. And that's what we got. I really want to talk about this as well while we're getting into it. People have missed this entire run up, and I think ETH took off today, and it just sort of shows you that people have now learnt the lesson about, you do not want to be late here when the bull market starts. I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail, as well as a few other tweets. But we're going to have a look at whether or not we have bottomed. And look, it's been a bit of climax, but we're going to do our on-chain data. And I've got a lot of these saved here, which I'll just open up now. So let's have a look at all exchange inflow, spot exchange inflows, all exchange net flows, their reserves, the outflows, stablecoin ratio, yes. Whale ratio, exchange fund flow, velocity. Let's also have a look at the funding rate, which got terribly expensive just before. Okay, so this is for margin traders, 0.23. Is that every hour? Oh, that's the daily rate that you pay each hour. So very expensive. I think it was probably more than this a couple of hours ago. So it got really expensive to be margin long, to leverage up. And a lot of liquidations would have come through there as well. All right, so Bitcoin had kind of been floundering a little bit more than the other coins, as it had been going sideways. And we kind of spoke about the fact that when Bitcoin can find a range, it'll be good for alts. And if you have a look now, this was that period. So since we put in the top, we were just in a range, we were tightening, and boy, oh boy, this, it was only 48 hours or so, but did we ever have some big moves in alts? So these are the FTX indexes, which you can actually trade. And I've got a few good questions from even friends of mine about, what are you doing now? So if you see Bitcoin have its run and top out, and we've spoken a number of times about how money tends to then flow towards ETH, and ETH had a huge rip as it played catch up. And just look, these few hours since we had the daily close, what were we trading at? It was magic. That was alt season for you there. We went from 800 straight through 900, straight to 1,000, 1,100, 1170 on, is this Coinbase? Yeah, 1180 nearly on FTX. Unbelievable stuff, guys. This isn't a little altcoin. This is a what's the market cap now? We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars for Bitcoin, $100 billion plus Ether. This is why we love crypto. These sort of rips and pumps, money to be made if you can learn how to trade. Money to be made on the downside as well if you can keep your cool. And experienced traders don't FOMO. A lot of beginners will FOMO in and buy the top. Go through that learning cycle. Once you've been through a few of these, you'll start to learn that when it feels like you need to be buying, it may even be the right thing to be doing the opposite and selling as a trader or an investor. So hopefully plenty of you have been through that cycle well and truly by now. Other clues that we had, so you can see that ETH Bitcoin had one rip here, came all the way back, and that was really disappointing. We thought this was the bottom for sure. And to drift all the way back and give it back, it's almost unusual, almost like there's someone trying to maybe cap the price, or who really knows. But to have that other pump, and if we have a look at the exact time when this happened, so this is Jan 3, 8 a.m. till, let's call it midday, 1 o'clock ish, and then it took off. Now let's have a look at actual Ethereum. So that started to trend a little bit higher, but it was well and truly after that it had its pump that it went sharp as well, okay? So this is the same, technique or whatever you want to call it that you can use to trade other coins. And I've always liked trading against US dollar pairs. Now, I know a lot of people like to trade against Satoshis or against Bitcoin and grow their Bitcoin stack. And that's also fine. But what I've just found over the years is there never used to be too many places you could even do that. I'll keep an eye on some of your questions and comments here as well as we go through. But remember, we had sort of BitMEX, and they did have those pairs against Bitcoin. But if I want to trade Cardano or Litecoin, I want to trade the price of it. I don't really want to trade against Bitcoin. And that's where a lot of traders that are still trading against Bitcoin because they want to grow their Bitcoin stack and they want to know if they're outperforming Bitcoin or not. That's fine, but I believe you can use that to your advantage even more so if you want to trade against the US dollar pairs. So what do I actually mean by that? Let's go and have a look at a few charts and put this into practice. A great example would be Litecoin. Again, when did Litecoin start to really pump here? Let's call it 2nd of January, 12 o'clock. And now we go and look at the Litecoin Bitcoin pair. 2nd of January, 12 o'clock is about here, okay? And not much happens. So it starts to chop around a little bit and then it takes off there as well. So these are the relationships that you can use to your advantage that might give you the heads up that maybe Bitcoin is going to play catch up, or maybe Litecoin is about to lead other altcoins. So many little clues that you can use to improve your trading once you understand the relationships. DXY, something that we're still keeping a very close eye on, because this has just been a constant bloodbath. And when this, a little bit like the ETH Bitcoin pair, we've been looking for a bottom for that long, and it remains in this falling wedge pattern. We thought we're putting in a inverse head and shoulders there, not to be. So what are the fundamentals with this one now? I think the US has basically got most of the unknowns behind them now in terms of the election, although we had some more news today about, I think, was it the Dems maybe not signing off, but I think both parties have to. So look, I think all that stuff is finally going to be behind us in the news cycle. It's really that stimulus that got rejected and then turned over again. So depending on the degree to which the US dollar is going to get trashed or printed to pay all these handouts, once that's all known, it doesn't really matter how big the stimulus ends up being. I think that the US dollar is going to form a bottom. And once that happens, then unfortunately, it probably means the long-awaited correction for Bitcoin is going to take place. Gold and silver are also looking pretty good at the moment as well, though, aren't they? They've reclaimed this really crucial level. Silver in particular. Boy, that is just a beautiful pattern. That is a weekly chart. It doesn't get much better than that. The most common pattern that we have in bull markets, particularly in crypto, are these bull flags and bull pennants. I cannot recommend highly enough for anyone that's a member that's joined our new app, go and do that learning unit on flags, pennants, triangles. I think it's under resources here. This is your license to print money, okay? So often in bull markets, you get these beautiful triangles, flags, pennants. They're continuation patterns. And when you understand them, you can set your stop losses, you can set up your trade, say, right, if it breaks out, I'm going to use a little bit of that leverage once you're confident with your trading and all that. And this is where I've spoken about before. It can just be that few weeks that only really happens every few years. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that trading's easy and you just do these few things and you'll make money every day consistently. Trading, like everything, takes years of work to get good at. But when altcoins have these runs and they have these patterns that form, honestly, it is life-changing the amounts of money that you can make by simply understanding the flags and the pennants. I'm sure Bitcoin was doing it as well here, leg up, sideways, leg up, sideways, leg up. And then finally it works till it doesn't. And there were also clues in the top here. What was different about this? Why wasn't this another continuation pattern, for example? Well, you could argue that it was a flag or a falling, broadening, descending wedge. This is one that Roman and Kyle have taught me a new one. The volume profile here. So when we have this big sell volume, that's unusual. We shouldn't have that in these other patterns. It should be very low volume after very high volume on the way up. So look, I won't go into that too much, but honestly, if we get an alt season, you want to learn those patterns. Where are we now for markets? So typically, when markets have these runs, they come back and they very simply will touch a previous peak. That's as easy as I can make it. And where's this previous peak? This week here. Let's have a look at ETH. Let's clear all our drawings. 4-hour chart, hourly chart. Have I got another peak back here? No. So you could argue that ETH probably still has a ways to go. It could get down to 820 there, or even 750. I kind of think that that's being a little bit greedy. I think that a little bit like Bitcoin here, I don't think ETH is going to give that much back. look at the run it had today, and people were just absolutely FOMOing. Everyone wanted some ETH. They had that perception, like I said at the start, that you missed Bitcoin. It didn't give you a lot of pullbacks at all on the way up. I'm not going to miss out again on ETH. And everyone all of a sudden has that all-time high. That's the only thing in their mind. And that's why it can charge from $100. How crazy is that to think that ETH was $100 back in March? $89, it got down to $85. Beautiful smooth action, and ends in a bit of a parabola. Kind of catches up to, some people would argue, maybe where it should have been all along. It's fair value with DeFi and everything. But I mean, alts have had 1 or 2 days. Is this alt season? Definitely not. It was a little glimpse of it. Is retail getting interested? Maybe. They're not flooding in yet, but I think they're definitely coming. Yesterday we got contacted by BBC World News. Wasn't that amazing? So these sort of things are happening. We didn't end up getting that interview out, by the way. They went with someone else, and that someone else was Mike Novogratz. I'll send him a message as well, stirring him up, saying that he beat me to it. It cost me my debut on BBC. So other things that we can start to look at now, 100,000 Bitcoin is very, very doable. Hey, now that Bitcoin's at 33,000, it's got to triple, very doable. But what people don't realize is some of these potentials if the ratios of these other coins get back to where they were. So previous market cycles on different exchanges, the highest ETH got was 0.2 on one exchange. So that would give you, $20,000 ETH if we have $100,000 Bitcoin, and it gets to the same ratio. Now, I did a big write-up for members about why the pros and cons, the fors and against about how that would happen, why it might not happen, Bitcoin being the king. So check that out if you haven't already. But I really do think it's very doable. And how many times have you been told by the maximalists that, alts are dead, we'll never have another alt season? And things like Dogecoin are pumping thousands of %. And I think my message was, as long as there's human beings, money and psychology and trading, we are always going to have alt seasons. Okay, so a little bit of a flag or falling wedge being put in again here on Dogecoin. Nice bright green for you there. I don't mind this so far. We can see big volume on the way up and small volume. So this looks like it could be correcting and about to go again. Bring out the fib retracement. Beautiful, beautiful kiss of the Fibonacci golden zone at the bottom of a bull flag. I think that looks like it's setting up to go again. And these are the sort of clues where we go through and start to say, does it make sense that we're just going to have a long sustained correction now? And I think the answer is absolutely no. I honestly think that this was just a shakeout and we're about to go again. Sentiment drives all markets. You've all seen the Wall Street cheat sheet. And sentiment doesn't go from absolutely euphoric, people piling into Ethereum, people that didn't want to pay $85 for it 9 months ago are now paying $1,000 for ETH. Okay, that doesn't change because of one pullback. It's healthy. It's what we need. We've been saying that we need this. 30 or 40% in previous market cycles. This is 10%, and this tends to be the most that we've got. 20%, finally for Bitcoin. So this is the biggest one we've had. And again, to me, that just is suggestive that it's the bigger one that we kind of need to have. There's still a huge appetite. We're not going to get a generous 30% correction that would put us back down at 24. I know a lot of people are eyeing that off. And 40%, like previous market cycles, would be down around 20,000. And I definitely don't think we're going there unless something dramatically changes. But from all available information at the moment, even the regulatory crackdown, I just think there's too much money. There's a sea of money waiting to get in. So let's have a quick look at some of these metrics. All exchange inflows. Let's put this on hourly. And this was a good heads up yesterday. So let's just take the last, 2 weeks or so of data. Let's go from Christmas. So Jan 2nd, Jan 3rd, we had a couple of really big spikes and a big chunk. Bigger than back here. So this was maybe a little heads up that we did start to see some inflows into exchanges, people getting ready to sell. Spot exchanges in particular. So you can break this down into like leverage trading platforms or just the spot exchanges. And this was the big warning sign. 3 massive peaks, the 2 particularly yesterday. So that was good to note. Net flows. 2 days ago it was a big net outflow. Yesterday was big inflow. All exchange reserves. These continue to fall. And I think that's the bigger catalyst. Traders can move things around short term. You can't see that. Okay, you can see that now. So this big drop just shows you that reserves are being eaten into. Outflows. Hourly. We're still seeing, huge outflows here. Okay, so what does this mean? This one is telling me that there's a lot of OTC deals because we can get more specific, and a lot of this came from Coinbase. So that means that there's a lot of people that are buying coins OTC and then sending them out to store them with Coinbase custody. So whales are still very active. Stablecoin ratio. Yeah, that's all good at the moment. Nothing there. The whale ratio. Whales haven't really been more active or less active. It's all the same there. So there's nothing too much to worry about on chain. The one that I did mention again the other day was these HODL waves. So we did have some days destroyed. Hold on. Let's see if I can have a look at days destroyed without logging in. See if I'm logged into sentiment. It's not going to let me log in there either, is it? Okay. Not to worry. Let's go back to the chart. But the two that I did want to show you were days destroyed. So we had a lot of old hodlers moving their coins for the first time. But it wasn't a huge amount. So it was just healthy amounts of profit taking in the end. What we need is a sustained trend. So we need to see consistently old hands sending their coins to exchanges to sell that were hodlers. That's not happening at the moment. What was the other one I was mentioning? Days destroyed was the hodlers and the profit ratio. I think I tweeted that the other day as well. We have a lot of people that are in profit now, and they took some of those profits, but it wasn't to a huge degree. Okay, never mind. That chart's not too important. I think you've seen it before. Here we go. Yeah, a lot of people in these big profits. That could be the sign of a top, and we've got lots of profits. Days destroyed. Here's the one I want to show you. So another big peak in days destroyed, but it wasn't the biggest ever. It was the biggest since the start of the year. We had a lot bigger back in 2017. Active addresses is still really good. Ethereum is going through the same process that Bitcoin went through when whales are accumulating, when smaller retail investors have started to take profit. So that is a very, very good sign for institutions about to adopt Ethereum. A couple of other things that I did definitely want to show you. Hey, I love it when we start to get the big boys. So Mason from Mazzari. When I see the writers and researchers from Mazzari and Delphi start to look at all the things that we've been looking at, I get very, very excited. They do great pieces of work and research, so read it all. Litecoin, I think Litecoin's got a big role to play. All this talk around privacy coins being delisted again yesterday. Litecoin is going to implement privacy features and be a testbed for Bitcoin, and that just became a lot more important with the recent crackdown. $30,000. Little Photoshop for you there, guys. Before you know it, we'll be at 40,000. Something did feel very special, didn't it, yesterday or 2 days ago? And that came through, I think, again today with Ethereum and a few altcoins. Yeah, bullish ascending triangle, all the good news, and bang, we went higher. Okay, so this is what I want to show you and talk about. And I'll cover this in more detail in my yearly Bitcoin and crypto like predictions and outlook video. But how's price going? Yep, nice. I think we need to start considering that Bitcoin is going through this tech adoption S-curve. So it has, it's changed from a speculative asset or a speculative store of value, like Simon Dixon says, to actually being adopted. And that kind of changes what Bitcoin is as an asset class as well. So don't expect it to have 40% pullbacks. You wouldn't expect the number of TVs or iPhones or any of these technologies that got adopted to have a 30 or 40% drop. Once it starts this path, doesn't really sort of slow. It just goes parabolic and stays there. So what I kind of mean by that is, if Bitcoin is being used as a store of value for a lot of different people for different things, we should expect it to go down. We should expect it to keep growing. And again, I'll cover that in more video, but I really think we need to start thinking about Bitcoin differently. I'll take a few questions in just a second. I'll just blow my nose. And I will mute the microphone for all of you. That was a requested feature. There you go. Is that right? Cool. I hope that keeps everyone happy in the comments. So no ads, and now you get muted when I've got to blow my nose. You guys get it all, don't you? And I won't fall asleep either, like I did on a live stream recently. Okay, so let's talk about these couple of things here. Hotkey is a mute function. That's good to know as well. Okay, let's go through a few things here. Bitcoin, it got to that all-time high. Before you know it, it was at 30K. So retail hasn't even realized that it's past 20K and it's already past 30K. Weekly RSI is a little bit high. In the past, it's hit that 3 times and actually still managed to have huge returns, even if the weekly RSI is high. So that's not the only thing. But that media coverage is what we're going to see pick up now. Dogecoin, again, let's just have a look at that chart of Doge. this is just incredible from a coin which doesn't have a team or anything. It's just a meme. This shows you the power of community. You can call it pumpermentals or it's a bit of fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's almost at the opposite end of the spectrum to something like, XRP that is trying to work with regulators and governments and being very serious. Whereas Doge is just, a meme and the founder literally quit and people use it. So I know Doge is a little bit of a joke, but it's important to remember that if the network is full and fees got really expensive again today, you can quite confidently use Doge. And it's just like a Litecoin or a Bitcoin Cash or another transactional currency that's going to work really well for you. So that in and of itself has utility. So you can argue that when Doge goes up in price, in bull markets, when Bitcoin gets expensive and there's lots of transactions being sent, that it maybe is Doge's specific use case. And that is why it tends to be so cyclical with its pumps. And it is just such a well-loved coin that when the traders start to talk about it, they talk about it on Twitter, on their trading groups, and it almost just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where, like clockwork, Doge pumps when all those conditions align. So, hey, it's funny how these things happen. Other pairs that I want to mention, we spoke about Litecoin, Bitcoin, ETH, Bitcoin. Okay, so money is going to rotate into alts and then mid caps. So if you're not sure how to play it, that's when these indexes might be a good way to play it, because that just gives you exposure to a range of the mid cap coins. And then typically the coins that'll pump last are the really low cap coins. So they've got the shitcoin index. And then specific themes, a lot of people are just going to come in and say, I want DeFi exposure. Now, for the more advanced users, you've got your DeFi indexes and those types of things. But I'll probably also argue that the beginners are just going to want to click on an index as a product. They're not really going to want to go and do all the MetaMask and those other types of things. Privacy coins, I don't think they're a great investment. I think they're probably going to struggle a little bit with all this regulation and delisting. XRP is an interesting one. Do I think it's dead? I think that there's been this sort of thought process around XRP that it's only US exchanges that are going to delist and crack down. I actually don't agree with that. I think that even if it's just US exchanges that do that, if you want to be the world sort of payment currency and whatnot, you've got to really work with the US dollar. That is the world reserve currency. If you want to build liquidity, there's just so many things that you can't do if they've got this issue for the time being. Now, I would also argue that everything up until this point, I believe there was a lot of fundamentals that were suggesting it wasn't really being that successful, but that didn't stop people from investing, and making this project worth billions and billions of dollars. So has anything changed from, one point to the other in terms of what they're actually doing? And the majority of people, I go around the XRP Facebook groups and I just read the comments from the general public. And I think we forget how little most people know or care about. And they do just speculate on different coins. So don't overthink it, I would say. I'm probably going to wrap it up, guys, fairly shortly. I don't want this to be a long one. One thing I will mention, where are we here? So new interface on FTX, you might have noticed. And you can have a play around with this as well and move it around and whatnot. A lot of new products recently. So like stocks, they've got the Coinbase listing up here, which is kind of cool. So you can speculate on the price of Coinbase. Prediction markets. And they've added some of these NFL prediction markets. Again, very, very unique way of betting. It's actually live and you can see the odds coming in and it's like trading a market or a coin. They've added Monero, very popular with all exchanges delisting it. So they really give people what they want. And that's why I do like FTX, and why I got behind even the FTT token initially, which is broken out to new all-time highs. When we did our members research, the ICO was 80 cents from memory, or $1 you could have got it for on day one. So well done. Anyone that's still holding that, 700%, 800% return. Another thing that they've got, which stood out recently, was these new pairs. So, ETH against the Aussie dollar or the euro, and you can also margin trade that, or even ETH against Bitcoin. We talk about that ratio so much. You can now margin trade these spot pairs, which is very, very interesting and unique as well, because some people will want to trade whatever it is, like I just spoke about before, some coins against the US dollar versus some coins against Bitcoin. So is there a Litecoin? What have we got? Well, ETH's a good example of that anyway. Spot. Let's have a look at some of these others. Against Bitcoin. I'll let you go through and have a look. There's too many to enjoy. Okay. Check out the tutorials on FTX for more info on all that stuff. But for the time being, guys, I'm very, very happy with what's happened so far. I don't think that this is a train wreck and a major top. Look at the volume here. Nothing too big to worry about. Not as big as the volume we had on the way up, really. No. So, buyers stepping in. Nice sharp V here. Let's see if we make a little flag and we can work our way higher. That would be the ideal scenario. Not a lot of volume on Coinbase. I think the stars are sort of telling us here that there's nothing to panic about. Perfect situation here would be if Bitcoin wants to be range bound in a nice big flag for, all the way up until Feb, let's say, for example. And let's just call it alt season now. Let's see if ETH can get up to 2,000. All our favorite alts are just going to have money rotate into it and pump. Because when Bitcoin has reached this $500 billion market cap, it could be a very tiny amount of money that rotates into alts, can go a long, long way. So Bitcoin's market cap got up to $600 billion. So let's say that Bitcoin has a 10% correction or stays within a 10% range. That's $60 billion that can be spread out throughout all the other coins. So you have a look at some of these 24-hour volumes. XRP, for example, is only 5 billion. A lot of these are a few $1 billion. So $60 billion, and they might be stable coins, they might be other coins. You can leverage them up on exchanges like FTX. You can leverage any coin as collateral. So $60 billion can be leveraged up to 100 times. Start to do the math. That is why whales can make huge, huge difference in where markets go. And they can create these wicks. They can create buy walls, sell walls. Really, really manipulate markets how they want because they have that huge, huge pool of capital and leverage. And there's a lot of whales that like having a splash around in these other markets. They'll try and build their Bitcoin stack, and a lot of noobs will get burnt trying to trade for the first time on margin and whatnot. But hey, you've got to go through the cycles and learn these lessons. It's part and parcel. And here we go. It looks like we are about to break higher again. So guys, I will probably leave it there. I don't want this to be a late one. Already 11:15. You're giving me a hard time, Nick, about having too many shit coins. What's been funny in this cycle, that the coins that I've copped the most shit about from the trolls have been some of the best performers. There you go. Sushi's gone from 50 cents to over $4. Polkadot, one that I've mentioned several times that I really like, and I think it could complement ETH, and that I think a lot of DeFi stuff is probably going to happen on Polkadot as well. And that has gone from the other day $5 up to 10, or when it launched it was what, $1, $2? Well done, Polkadot fans. I do think that there's going to be that much FOMO for ETH. Okay, guys. I'm going to go. You guys have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see if we can get another alt season. It would be very welcome. And never fear. You know, we need corrections, and we've finally got one. Okay, take care.